If you could step into a time machine and travel back to 1969, you'd witness something spectacular. What you're looking at wouldn't be just any desert. It's the American side of Niagara Falls, completely dry. In the summer and fall of 1969, this mighty waterfall had no water for 6 months. Researchers halted the flow to study the rock face of the falls, worried that erosion might make it unstable. Erosion happens when natural forces, like water and wind, wear away earth materials. Niagara Falls is actually made up of 3 waterfalls that straddle the international border between Canada and the United States: Horseshoe Falls, American Falls, and Bridal Veil Falls. In order from largest to smallest, American Falls are entirely in the US, while Horseshoe Falls primarily lies on the Canadian side, divided by Goat Island. Bridal Veil Falls, the smallest of the 3, is on the American side, separated by Lunar Island. Isn't that a fascinating natural border between the US and Canada? Many doubted we could stop such a massive amount of water from flowing, but we did it. A 600-foot dam was built across the Niagara River, halting the American Falls. This meant they had to divert 60,000 gallons of water every second so that the remaining flow could go over the Horseshoe Falls, which lie entirely on the Canadian side. Over 27,000 tons of rock were used to build the dam, with over 1,000 trucks hauling it during the hot summer of 1969. On June 12th, after over 12,000 years of continuous flow, the American Falls dried up so research could be done. While the Horseshoe Falls absorbed the extra water, locals were worried, though. They feared it wasn't possible to fully control such a vast amount of water. There was concern that the water might find another route and cause a catastrophic flood, or that tourists would stop coming if the falls didn't return to their former glory. But tourists kept coming. Even that summer, they were treated to a rare sight, one that no one had ever seen before or since. During that time, a temporary walkway was built just 20 feet from the edge of the now dry falls, allowing workers to clean the bottom of what was once a river. Tourists could explore this wild, previously inaccessible landscape. As researchers investigated the dried bottom of the falls, they found millions of coins, thrown in by people over the decades. It was like finding a Niagara Falls piggy bank. They removed most of the coins, but you have to wonder what treasures could be found today. With more and more tourists visiting, perhaps coins, lost cameras, drones, or phones dropped by accident, turning Niagara Falls into a dry landscape proved possible. And it may need to happen again. In 2020, there were reports that two pedestrian bridges above the falls, nearly 120 years old, needed repair or replacement. Experts debated whether to divert the water once more, though people often talk about Niagara Falls as one of the tallest waterfalls in the world. That's not exactly true. While Niagara Falls is breathtaking, there are nearly 500 waterfalls in it. Angel Falls in Venezuela. What makes Niagara Falls special, though, is the volume of water. Taller waterfalls usually don't have such a massive amount of water flowing over them. Niagara combination of height and water volume is what makes it so spectacular, along with the fact that it's one of the fastest moving waterfall in the world.
The Niagara River itself was formed after the last ice age,
along with the Great Lakes Basin. As the ice sheets that covered southern Ontario melted, they created lakes and eventually the Niagara River, forming the magnificent Niagara Falls. You might notice that the Niagara River has a stunning green color, a sign of how powerful its water is at eroding material. Every minute 60 tons of dissolved minerals flow over the falls. All of this, along with dissolved salts and finely ground rock, creates that magnificent green hue. More than 1 million people from US and Canada rely on the waters of Niagara River for fishing, drinking water, recreation, hydroelectric power, and more. The first hydroelectric generating station in the world was built near the falls at the end of 19th century, and while it worked, the electricity could only travel 300 feet. Today, several power plants near Niagara Falls provide over 2 million kilowatts of power. Interestingly, 1969 wasn't the only time Niagara Falls stopped. Back in 1848, the water stopped flowing for up to 40 hours due to ice blocking. The river's source factories and mills had to shut down, and people were left wandering the river bottom, gathering souvenirs. After 2 days, a wall of water returned, bringing Niagara Falls back to life. That's it. If you like the video, share it with your friends. Subscribe the channel and stay tuned with